Last but not least is Yoki Gil, who is the owner of Shoresh. It's an SME that is located in the very north of Israel. And I think it's fair to say that Yoki has been walking the sustainability talk way longer than most of us, if not all of us. And I think that what you will hear on some of the really amazing things that Yoki has been leading in this industrial plant that is, as an industrial plant, consumes a lot of energy and resources, and yet Yoki has and will prove that it makes also business sense. So Yoki, please come.
Thank you, Gil. I would like to start my session with this slide showing the global CO2 emissions since 1958, the year I was born. As you can see, the last 22 years, global emissions were rising over 50% with a steady yearly rate of 2.5% to 3% increase every year. The Bloomberg Carbon Clock you see here estimates the level of CO2 in the Earth's atmosphere at this moment. All those slides I'm showing you now are probably the opening slides in any session that is taking place now at this moment at COP28. Tamar, our minister, you rightly said yesterday at Ynet that it's not only Greta warning us, it's world leaders who now are starting to wake up. And I totally identify. That's the feeling here at COP27, that world leaders are moving gradually from their comfort zone. This is the carbon budget clock. In order to maintain our modern life and economy, we emit around 1,300 tons of CO2 every second. We is humanity. This carbon budget clock tells us that at this stage, by the end of this decade, 7 years from now, we will finish our carbon budget and find ourselves above the 1.5-degree threshold. This is a McKinsey report showing our global emissions per years to come. This is a one slide that says it all. The red line shows us where we will be if all countries' current declared commitment to reduce emission will be met. This is clearly not enough. Science gives us one very clear message. John Kerry, who was speaking 5 meters from here yesterday, started his speech saying the same thing. We must stay under the 1.5-degree pathway. This is the green pathway you see on the slide. And to do so, we must all cut our emission by at least 50% by the end of this decade. On household level, on organization level, on country level, yes, Israel, there's no other way. Not doing something about it will make us the first generation in human history that the life of our children will become substantially more difficult and miserable than our own life. Ron, you just said it in your speech, what President Obama said a few years ago. No debate, this is clear as crystals. Leaders must tell the people. If we want to keep global warming under 1.5 degrees, we must reduce our emissions by 50% until the end of this decade. This is a huge shift we must all make from 3% annual increase in the last 20 years to a 7% annual decrease in the next 7 years. You understand the difficulty. What I would like to do now is to show you how at Source, my company, we plan to get our emissions from 100 to 0 in just 3 years using the microgrid sustainable model. This is a message of hope and inspiration that I want to show you right now. Source is a mid-sized factory with 300 workers, 8,000 square meter facility, and 250 million shekels annual revenues. When analyzing our CO2 emissions, we see that we consume 1 million kilowatt hour of electricity every year. For our company vehicles, we consume 30,000 liters of gasoline each year, and to landfill, we dispose 150 tons of trash every year. In total, we emit to the atmosphere almost 1 million kilograms of CO2 each year. 1 million kilograms of CO2 each year, my company. We pay over 1 million shekels each year for electricity bills, gasoline, and landfill bills. You know, 30 years I'm running my company unaware to the emissions nor to the expense. Electricity consumption, gasoline consumption of the company vehicles, and waste disposal that goes to landfill are the three elements that create CO2 emission in any business in the world. In Source, we have launched a year and a half ago our microgrid project, aiming within 3 years to get our CO2 emission and related annual expense to 0. There are 3 principles to get our electricity emissions and bills to 0. First principle is PV panels plus energy storage. Second, the more we produce energy for self-consumption, the more money we make. Third, we use every space on site suitable for PV. There are 3 principles to get our gasoline emissions and bills to 0. First, switch company vehicles to EV. Second, install charging station on site. Third, charge cars from the sun, not from the grid. This again will bring us to 0 gasoline bills, no pollution, no emissions. There are 2 principles to get our waste emissions and bills to 0. First, everything that is recyclable is separated and goes to recycling. Second, everything that is not recyclable will produce steam gas that will generate electricity during winter when we have less sun. Source Sandal factory is the first factory in Israel and one of the first in the world that is operating as a microgrid year-round using the sun energy only. I would like to share with you a short video. The battery that stores the energy. It's a Tesla battery. Yes, you can see that the size of the battery is 6 square meter, provides energy to a 1,000 square meter factory. The open ceremony was happening a month ago.
אז אני מתכבד לפתוח את טקס העצמאות האנרגטית של מפעל שורש. אני מאוד מאוד מתרגש. יש לי חלום שבכל בית ובכל שכונה, על כל מפעל ובכל מרכז מסחרי, מעל שדות חקלאיים ומעל מאגרי מים, אנשים כמוני וכמוכם, יזמים קטנים, לא גדולים, יקימו תחנות כוח קטנות, לא גדולות, שמייצרות חשמל בשם
מיזם חשוב ואמיץ. חלוצי במלוא מובן המילה. אבל אתה יוקי הראית לנו שאם תרצו אין זו אגדה, אז לקחנו לתשומת ליבנו ותמשיך לעשות את הדבר הנפלא הזה.
המודל הזה הוא לא רק סביבתי, הוא גם ביטחוני. הוא מאפשר פיזור מקורות אנרגיה, ובעתיד אם נתמוך ברעיון לא יהיה מצב שניתן יהיה לשתק את הזרמת האנרגיה למפעלים ולבתים.
אבל היום יוקי, אתה הזמנת אותנו למסע אל העתיד האחר, והעתיד האחר הזה הוא עתיד אפשרי.
I would like to give you now a glimpse to the future. What you see on the screen is the Source Sandal Factory real-time dashboard. 100 workers are there at this moment producing 12,000 sandals each day, all from the sun without utilizing the grid at all. Our sandal factory consumes at this moment about 120 kilowatt. The PV system produces at this moment 80 kilowatt, and our battery delivers on real time the balance 40 kilowatt. What you see now is what is happening in Tirat Carmel at this moment. Nothing comes from the grid right now, and no one in the factory feels a difference or is aware of it. No need to wait until the end of this decade to reduce our emission by 50%. The moment our microgrid model is operating, our emissions drop from 100% to zero, and we save a lot of money. I would like you to close your eyes. Now imagine what will happen if all of us will go microgrid. Thank you.
I think closing on that note gives us a hope. That's what I feel, and I think this whole event shows us that it is possible. There are complexities, there are huge challenges for every organization to go down the decarbonization journey, but it's possible, and also it's the only guarantee that the business will stay competitive over the long run. It's not only an essential act to save the planet, to save the future generations, it also makes business sense. And I think all of you, I thank you very much for showing us that it is possible. And I would like to say that that new initiative, the Zero Hour Framework, is really an evolving project, if you like, an evolving initiative in which we're going to develop a thriving community, and we hope to connect and assist and work together with international partners that can take on board maybe some of the lessons or some of the ideas that we have developed in this framework, and we can work together and connect the framework with other initiatives. And thank you very much for all of you, for all the speakers here, and thank you very much for all of you that joined us today and listened.